Terraria is a vast game with vast exploration and depth beneath the surface, with a large world having over 20 million generated blocks. It's going to be pretty difficult to explore the entire world. As you have already noticed, more so than not, the game takes place underground. This is where most of the game's progress actually takes place. Finding ores, finding life crystals, breaking open pots, the jungle being its own adventure because that's a very significant part of the story, the underground cabins, and much more I didn't mention. But beneath it all lies the deepest and darkest corner of what some may call hell. Although to a non-Terrarian player, the underworld in this game might be confusing as hell, yeah, that was intended, to understand, so I will be explaining a mix of Terraria's lore and this game's part of the progression guide. As said on the wiki, the underworld is one of the most dangerous biomes in Terraria, like no shit. Well, in pre-hard mode, because this, however, the trade-off is that pre-hard mode, the best ore is spawned called Hellstone, which you Terraria veterans already know. It's similar in appearance to meteorite ore because of their brown, reddish, but mostly brown color, and coincidentally both have the burning effect when stepped on. Without any potions or protective gear, however, Hellstone, as its name suggests, takes it a step further by making it a pain in the ass to mine. When mined, it will spill a small portion of lava, so make sure when you do mine to place a wall in between you and the lava, because for whatever reason the character can mine things in between the lava and Hellstone, but that's besides the point. Think of it as like the game Where's My Water, you know, that classic old tablet game that you could get. It might be still free or on phone, I'm not really sure. But anyways, now let's talk about the mobs you will find down here. Of course, there are variants of bats and slimes, but as lava, because of course you need those, because lava and hell. Out of the more interesting mobs, the imp is a common reoccurring creature that teleports while shooting fire projectiles at your character. In European mythology, an imp is a mix between a fairy and a demon, but usually smaller in size than the traditional demon. You can think of it as in the real world, great apes and lesser apes exist, like gibbons or orangutans, but are both still apes. There are also of course demons, which have wings. Although the imps lack wings, demons are associated with many things, such as evil or occultism or religion even. However, not all demons are evil depending on the mythology that they originate from. Demons in the context of Terraria, the other folklore, are also fireproof and lava-proof due to their magic essence. Hence, they do not need the demon scythe but already obtain its power. It is only dropped once you slay a demon. A removed mob, which I personally wish they kept in the game, is the archdemon. However, it is very similar to the regular demon, so I can see why Realogic chose to remove them. At least that's the conclusion that I can come to. An archdemon is the opposite of an archangel. They act as an important role in the underworld's hierarchy, like an angel would in the Aether or Heaven. There was also a green variant of the archdemon with purple wings in the old version of the game. Another mob that can be quite a challenge unprepared is the bone serpent. As its name suggests, a serpent is another word for a snake, but specifically a much larger snake, so like a python. But the definition for Google also puts it lightly, that a snake can be a deceitful or treacherous person. A snake can be symbolic for lying or betrayal in religious context. You know, because Adam and Eve and the snake. I wouldn't be surprised if the developers were thinking of Dante's Inferno while making this game as well. Out of the 9 circles of hell, treachery was the worst circle, and treachery being associated with the serpent or the snake, while also being the lowest circle, in a sense that hell is the lowest point in Terraria, because as you can earn the achievement rock bottom for literally reaching the lowest point possible in the game. During hard mode, another handful of enemies will appear. The mimics are creatures that in mythology are able to change shape and disguise themselves as inanimate objects in order to kill their prey. However, in Terraria, they are only chests, but come in 8 different variants in the game. While only 3 spawn in the underworld, and 7 currently exist in all of the game, the one that was removed is the jungle one, the jungle variant. Depending on what biome you are in, they drop different items when killed. However, the mimics spawn in the underworld drop equipable accessories that all have pretty good value to them, both in coins and their abilities. It's that time of the year during Christmas where it is appropriate to mention the Tortured Soul. This enemy can be turned into the Tax Collector, a town NPC. It with purification powder thrown onto them, which you can get from the Dryad. The tax collector is a reference to Ebenezer Scrooge. I think I said that right, but I'm sorry if I didn't. Don't yell at me, please. From A Christmas Carol written by Charles Dickens back in the 1800s. It is noted on the Terraria wiki that if you wear Calafre armor, it will still kill the tortured soul. So be sure to wear a different armor set in the underworld if your intention is to have a new grumpy town NPC that's an asshole. After defeating one of the 3 mechanical bosses, 2 or more NPCs will spawn. The Lava Bat is a stronger version of the Hell Bat. They have a small chance of dropping the Magma Stone, which makes melee damage inflict fire. So all weapons in a sense become equivalent to the fiery greatsword's effects, or the volcano as the new 1.4 update has put it. And the Bat, being a reference to an item in the game Don't Starve. The Red Devil is the hardest underworld enemy besides the Wall of Flesh, of course, but the Red Devils and hard mode, whatever. It has much more health and deals much more damage than a regular demon. Its trident attack, however, does dealable damage even while wearing endgame armor. So even wearing something like the solar armor can still mess you up. However, when defeated, it has a small chance of dropping the Unholy Trident. It shoots a fast magic projectile of itself at an enemy and is overall a very powerful weapon, and it also has a really cool purple glow to it. Tint. I like it. Red Devil is also a nickname given to a drug. I don't know if the game's actually talking about this or not, or a reference, but I'm just going to mention it anyways. Like I said, there's a drug called Red Devil, and it is also known as doxorubicin because of its bright red color and its insane side effects. Trust me, you don't want to eat it. It's known for having similar effects to radiation poisoning, such as hair loss, sepsis, nausea, and vomiting. Yay. And is very painful. So yeah, I don't recommend trying it. More mobs that you can find, critters you can find in the underworld, are the Hell Butterfly, Lava Fly, and Magma Snail, which are harmless but are useful for fishing bait and have relatively strong fishing bait power. The Wall of Flesh, and this is where it gets interesting, is the strongest pre-hard mode boss and enemy. Because of the nature of this boss, a good way to fight this boss is by building a bridge made of common block. So dirt, wood, no, probably not wood, but either dirt, stone, ebon stone, crimson block, just a very common block that you can use. It's good because you're going to need to place a lot of it if you want to actually make a bridge. And in order to challenge the Wall of Flesh before it starts throwing you around and into lava. Fun fact, if you're wondering how the Wall of Flesh spawns, this may come in handy. The Wall of Flesh spawn can actually vary depending on where you are in the underworld. The Wall of Flesh's linear direction depends if you are on the left or right side of the world. If the voodoo doll is dropped on the left side of the world, he will spawn on the left side of the world. If the voodoo doll is dropped on the right side of the world, he will spawn on the right side of the world. It's a relatively simple mechanic, but he always spawns off screen, no matter where you are. On the Wikipedia page, for example, for the Wall of Flesh, the lore of the Wall of Flesh is actually pretty interesting. On the Wikipedia page for the Wall of Flesh, if you scroll all the way to the bottom and go to the notes, the Wall of Flesh in a sense is a sort of guardian or protector of sorts. We could go down the route that the Wall of Flesh is Satan, but I don't really think there's enough evidence to support that statement. However, the Wall of Flesh is what balances and holds the world together. So now we're getting into the lore mythos. To put it in a nutshell, in certain aspects of the lore, its only goal is to prevent the spirits of light and dark from being released. This in turn will cause the world and universe to become imbalanced and chaotic. The spirit of light being the hollow, the spirit of dark being in the crimson or corruption, depending on which world you have. So I guess in a sense the Wall of Flesh is neither good or bad, but serves a purpose. A theory I have is that the Wall of Flesh is actually all of the spirits encased and broken up into the flesh that creates the monstrosity of the Wall of Flesh itself. So in a sense the Wall of Flesh is a collective consciousness that is controlled. So all of the hard mode enemies are the scattered remains of the Wall of Flesh as what they were before the hollow crimson corruption went out of control. The guide is linked to the Wall of Flesh in the same sense that the clothier doll is linked to the Skeletron boss. Despite the guide being annoying, he has vast knowledge about Terraria and a mysterious and unknown origin. In turn, he is like a god because he knows everything there is to know about the game. When the guide voodoo doll is thrown into the lava, this triggers the wall of flesh to spawn, because you are tested by the guide in order to be the new champion of Terraria, hence bringing balance and not needing the guardian, aka the wall of flesh. But because of the guide's immortal nature, he is able to come back to life just in a different form, hence a different name but the same character. The Wall of Flesh, however, was originally inspired off of the Demon Wall from the game Final Fantasy. The designs have notable differences, however. Speaking of which, the weapons dropped by the Wall of Flesh are also references to Final Fantasy. Let's go over them in order. Pwn Hammer is always dropped no matter what, and also has a hollow theme to it as well. Then, there are 4 weapons that each have a 25 chance of being dropped. Out of the 4 weapons, the Breaker Blade is in Final Fantasy is called the Buster Sword, but was made more mechanical looking in Terraria. There are notable differences. The Clockwork Assault Rifle is a gun, but is one of 3 guns without any knockback and is overall a somewhat mediocre weapon. The Laser Rifle is also a ranged weapon, but also a magic weapon, and it shoots a purple laser like how the Eye of the Wall of Flesh also shoots a purple laser. It's not the strongest, but it has a relatively quick speed. The final weapon you can get is the Firecracker, which some ways is similar to the Solar Eruption, however acts more like a whip than a launching sword. These weapons are a good start to hard mode, but they make you realize how powerless your character actually is until you further progress and make upgrades. You probably all understand exactly what I mean if you've all been there. Then, also out of the 4 emblems will also drop one of 4 each emblem giving increased benefits to one of the 4 classes, these being the Warrior Emblem for melee, Ranger Emblem for ranged, Sorcerer Emblem for magic, and Summoner Emblem for summoning. Now for the next and final section of the video, I'd like to mention the structure of the underworld. It is an open and cavernous area, and not to mention pretty awesome background art as well. There's some animated creatures in the background that you can also see flying. On the wiki it explains that the underworld is split up with a level of variety. In the middle regions consists of obsidian, hellstone brick fortresses, or by their more boring name, ruined houses. Because of the artwork and furniture that consists of the underworld, there could have been an ancient civilization that existed before the modern Terraria and Cthulhu's influence upon the world afterwards. So, the underworld in some ways is like apocalyptic wasteland, and why it is so hostile to the player. Some parts of the underworld contain ashwood trees, which I really like the design of, and is my favorite tree design in Terraria personally. I like that it behaves like other tree types of wood. Well, the ashwood armor is just like the other wood armor in most ways. The shadow chests are pretty rewarding because for pre-hard mode they contain some pretty awesome weapons and a huge range of potions. I mean a huge amount of variety. All of the items inside these chests are also worth pretty good in coins if you do not need them, and you will fill up your inventory like I do all the time with mine, trust me. If you notice, the Dark Lance is Night's Edge themed, while the Sun Fury and Flame Lash are Molten Armor themed. Although I find it interesting that certain items you cannot craft in Terraria to set, unlike Minecraft where pretty much almost everything is craftable. Overall, I'd say the underworld in Terraria is pretty badass. I mean, the music tracks work well with the design and the style to the game because of the 8-bit feel to it, but because Terraria doesn't take itself too seriously like some other games, it allows for a pretty unusual experience of hell, so it makes it pretty unique. Constantly being under threat gives it a true chance and just makes collecting hellstone to create molten armor even more rewarding. Well, until you get to hard mode, but before hard mode it's at the top of its game. I mean, literally. Trying not to step on bricks and burning to death or melting in lava or accidentally summoning a giant flesh wall really brings a lot to new players of the game. Now, I for one can say the underworld, while a cliche difficult area in game, works well in Terraria as it is. And anyways, that's about it for the video. I'd like you all to know that we have an active community and Discord server. Make sure to check it out, and everyone in it is pretty chill. If you enjoyed the video and enjoyed my channel, make sure to like and subscribe, as I am uploading new content and documentary videos every week. I can't guarantee every week, but every week. If any of you have any questions or suggestions, tips, or anything else, just comment down below and I will respond to them. Other than that, everyone have a good rest of your day. Make sure to like the video. I'm not sure if I already said that. And see you all in the next video. See ya.